The New York Times recently described Judy's performance on the PBS NewsHour as follows, quote, "Miss Woodruff's measured delivery, with her hands clasped and her voice low, stands as a counterweight to the haywire of American news." I personally appreciate that so much, Judy. In preparing for this event, I had the pleasure of going to the NewsHour website, and I really encourage you to do it, because if you just put in the word disability into the NewsHour's website, this extraordinary tapestry of terrific reporting becomes your enjoyment and a place where you can spend quite a lot of times really seeing such amazing work. Her previous pieces have been so important as she blazed a trail in the coverage of people with disabilities. These pieces, in many cases, are completely timeless also. Piece after piece of outstanding coverage on education, jobs, access for the more than 56 million people with disabilities in the room. And I will also mention that in almost every story, I found this really interesting as watching them back to back. She mentions the size of the disability community, that we're more than 50 million strong. And that's very important because a lot of people with disabilities feel very alone. Because even though we're 1 out of every 5 people, most disabilities are invisible. And a lot of people with disabilities are still in the closet about having disabilities. And that sheer act of mentioning the statistic of the size of our population, story after story after story, has helped people come out and bring their authentic 360-degree selves to the world. Her stories are sometimes serious and sometimes complex issues, but she put them in very accessible way to viewers, but she also knows how to have fun. I really enjoyed rewatching her and her former co-worker, a blessed memory, Gwen Eiffel, take the ice bucket challenge, which was really a very funny segment. In going through the many pieces, I was especially moved by a piece that she did that highlighted a high school student who, as a wheelchair user, raised $87,000 to have accessible doors put on the school so that kids with mobility impairments could access education. And what was important about it was, first of all, she highlighted the self-advocate, the person with a disability who is making the progress happen, and the pity or the ableism that we've seen in some other reporting was completely absent from the piece, as she set up a segment that really demonstrated that people with disabilities can hold their own destiny in their hands. Moreover, this young person who did this was a part of a student journalism project, and that she has really been a part of lifting up other journalists and helping them cover disability in other ways. And so, as I mentioned that, I want to add that Judy Woodruff is partnering with the Rayburn Family Foundation and the National Center on Disability and Journalism to offer the Rayburn Family Awards for Excellence in Reporting on Disability. This is the first contest of its kind. This award honors the best disability reporting produced each year by top media organizations from across the country and the world. And as such, it raises the bar on disability reporting by defining standards of excellence and inspiring work that meets those high standards. RespectAbility is deeply grateful for this initiative, like we are for so much of the Rayburn family's work. Judy Woodruff is also the mother of an adult child with a disability. She and her husband, Al Hunt, who is also a journalist, have been tremendous role models in how to respect and raise children and adults with disabilities. She's also been active on the board of the Kennedy Krieger Institute with spina bifida groups and others. The fact is, as I mentioned, that 1 in 5 Americans has a disability. However, due to stigmas, many hide, and their loved ones are still in the closet about the barriers that they face. The work that she has done, both as a reporter and as a mom, as an advocate, which has enabled people to bring their full selves to life, is really a tremendous accomplishment in addition to her journalism work. Judy, we are grateful to you as a fantastic journalist, a civic advocate on behalf of people with disabilities, and for your mentorship of young storytellers who are telling honest truths about people of all abilities. I'm going to give you a very special award. What?
The PowerPoint you pressed.
Oh, I pushed the PowerPoint, so we're showing the wrong slide. We can't have that. And now it's frozen. So somebody who's more technology skilled will have to join me here to fix it. But this flag was flown on top of the United States Capitol in your honor. Congressman Brad Sherman organized it, but this was flown on top of the U.S. Capitol in your honor. And I know that this is Washington. People don't believe things. There's a lot of fake news, never on the PBS NewsHour. But in case you doubt it, here's a certificate to show that this flag flew over the United States Congress in your honor. Judy Woodruff, thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness. Technology comes first. Here we go. Thank you, Jennifer. I am blown away by this. I had no idea that you were going to present me with the flag, and so that I'm already welling up thinking about that. But I have to say, Jennifer, I accept this incredibly generous award on behalf of especially our son Jeffrey, who to me is someone who goes through life every day with the kind of courage I only wish I could possess. And because I know Jeffrey and all of those with disabilities are an inspiration to all the rest of us. And frankly, we all have disabilities of different kind. It just depends on how you define them. But I will accept this on in the name of Jeffrey Hunt. So thank you very much. Thank you. I have to start by saying that Jennifer Mizrahi is a force of nature. This woman has taken the idea of what she's working on, inspired by her own family and her own children, her own circumstances, and she's taken it and she's created something that is truly not to be believed. I mean, you've created this organization. And why? Because you are so passionate about the cause and because you never stop working. This is a woman who goes from early in the morning until late at night. I don't think you sleep at all. But you have been an inspiration. You've been generous time and again with your time. You are always thinking of others. So I'm in awe of you, and I want to ask everybody here to give Jennifer for her incredible leadership. I started out by saying I'm welling up inside thinking about this, and I truly am. I mean, I came to the cause of disability through our son Jeffrey, who was born 36 years ago with spina bifida, a milder form of it. And so there were issues we were challenged to deal with as a family, especially Jeffrey as he was growing up. Then when Jeffrey was 16 years old, he experienced an injury, a brain injury, that left him profoundly disabled. With profound disabilities for the last 20 years. And what has this meant? I have to tell you, I thought I was someone with understanding, with compassion. I thought that I was a generous person, that I understood people's lives. But it really was not until my own child, my own son, went through what he went through that I began to understand a little bit of the world of disability. I can't pretend to see what you see through your own eyes, but I do see through Jeffrey, as hard as I try every day, And what I see is that we have come a long way in this country, but we still have a very long way to go. A very long way to go. And that's why the fight that you're fighting is so important. There are still too many people who don't have any awareness of what disability means, what disabilities are, who don't go out of their comfort zone to think about the things that still have to be done in this country. Thank goodness for the Americans with Disabilities Act. Thank goodness that that was passed when it was, back in 1990. But look at where we are today. There are still too many places where people with disabilities are either not welcome or not able to participate, whether it is physical barriers, whether it is education, whether it is employment, whether it is just simply social understanding and acknowledgement and acceptance in the broader world that we live in. And I see that through his eyes, and it makes me, it inspires me, it makes me angry on many occasions, but it also inspires me to want to do much, much more. And that's why I think what Jennifer and what Respectability have done matters so very much. I have to say, I looked at your program and I see you're focusing on education, you're focusing on jobs, you're focusing on diversity in the disability community, something that I think we have not done enough of. There needs to be a much better recognition of how some people in our society, have not one, but they have two and sometimes three barriers to climb over in order to get through life in the United States, which is supposed to be the freest and most accepting country on the planet. And yet we still have a long way to go. I am in awe of what all of you who work on this issue every day are doing. Jennifer mentioned some of the things the NewsHour's tried to do. We've tried to do some reporting whenever we can. We've tried to enlist students. She mentioned high school students. We have a program we call Student Reporting Labs. These young people, these high school students on their own came to us and said, we'd like to do some stories about young people with disabilities and how their lives are different and how their lives are challenged. And so they went about doing some reporting that none of us adults would have even thought to do and could never have done as well as they did. And so we are learning from young people. The tables are turning in a way that we should be. My great hope is that the younger generation is going to come along and they're going to figure out ways to tackle some of the issues that consume us. And they're going to tackle them in much more effective and powerful ways than we can even imagine. There are so many young people out there today. I've met a number of them through Jeffrey and through other organizations who I see bring a spirit and a determination that is going to carry this movement through. And I do see it as a movement. This is something that I think there used to be a sense, well, we're going to go do this. We're going to help the people with disabilities because it makes us feel good to do it, or we're doing something good. It's helpful. You know what? It's more than that. It's a movement. The need is now profound. The need is clear, and there's work to be done. And that's why what Respectability is doing, what Respectability is focusing on, trying to stay organized about day after day after day, really does matter. And that's why I am incredibly honored, Jennifer, to receive this award. I told Jennifer, I said, you didn't need to give me an award in order to get me here. I would have loved to have come and said hello to everybody and congratulated you on the incredible work that you're doing. But now that I'm here, I want to say thank you because it means everything to me. I'm going to be presenting this to Jeff. It means everything to me, but more than anything, I just want to say to each and every one of you, the fact that you're here, the fact that you've made the commitment that you have, the fact that each one of you has so many connections in the world, you reach out to people, you talk about this issue, every chance you get, that's what matters. That's how it's going to grow. That's how it's going to make a difference in the long run. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm incredibly honored.
Let me ask Judy one question. And If you were a young person with a disability who wanted a career in journalism, we have a national leadership program for people who have a disability lens and want to go into journalism. What advice would you give to them?
Well, I would say, first of all, I would reach out to either someone you know who's working in journalism, or even if you don't know them, extend yourself. I mean, email them, go visit them in person, knock on their door, and say, I'm really interested in what you're doing. I'd like to know more about it. What advice can you give me? There's so many different ways now to come into journalism. It used to be you started at the bottom and you worked your way up. You still very much start at the bottom. But because the nature of journalism has changed, when I started out, there was print, there was radio, and there was television. So think about it. How different are we now? The internet has come along and transformed journalism. Beyond that, social media is every day energizing journalism in good ways and frankly in not good ways, because for all the democratization with a small d, it's allowed some exchanges, in my view, to turn into attacks rather than healthy conversations. And so journalism it manifests itself today in so many different ways, and we need smart young people. So I will say, if you know a young person who's interested in working in journalism, get in touch. They can get in touch with me, they can get in touch with a journalist they may know, or just as I say, go make a cold call. Knock on somebody's door, email them, contact them, and say, I'm interested, and here are some ideas that I have. But we welcome young people with determination, with curiosity, people who are passionate about a free press, which is what, by the way, given the attacks recently on the press in this country, we have to work every day to hold on to. It's something that we cannot ever take for granted. Our democracy depends on a free press. And so the more we have young people coming to join us, to dedicate the work that they're doing to informing the American people, to holding public officials accountable, which is a big part of what journalism does, then the door is wide open. We welcome you.
Thank you very much.